Welcome back everybody, and this is part 13 on What If Kid Asta Meets Noelle's Mother. I do not own Black Clover or any of the characters in this video. Chapter 21. How deep is the underwater temple? Solid asked as Noelle led her sea dragon's cradle down and into the depths of the ocean. Not much further. Asir answered Solid's question. Can you be quiet, Solid? Noelle snapped. Trying to concentrate on keeping this spell up isn't easy, you know. That got everyone to go quiet. Even those that weren't saying anything didn't utter a word after that. After about 20-30 minutes, Noelle's sea dragon's cradle bumps into the now weakened barrier due to being close to midnight. What did I hit? Noelle wondered aloud. The strong magic region's barrier to the seabed temple. Valeria pointed ahead of them. We just went right through it. Eh. Noelle turned around to see that what Valeria said was true. Whoa, I managed to get through it. Well, the barrier down here is weaker. Elf Fana noted as Noelle's sea dragon's cradle dissipated and the group landed on the underwater sandy plains. This place is beautiful. Asta breathed as he looked around. Solid just groaned in irritation. And no time for sightseeing commoner filth. Solid snapped. We have a mission to complete. Asta turned to Solid and raised an eyebrow. Commoner filth. Asta repeated. That's our. Solid retorted hotly, but stopped upon feeling several angry glares headed his way, minus Asta. Those who were doing were as follows. Noelle, Courtney, Dazu, Lily, Alice, Valeria, Fanzel. Noelle, Courtney, Dazu, Lily, Alice, Valeria, Fanzel, Dominant, Mariella, and Freed, while Captain Asir, Captain Fana, Vice Captain Mars, Nozel, Nibra, Kabwi, Anabi, and Siona either sighed loudly or mentally facepalmed. What? Solid questioned. He then felt himself sweating. Despite being underwater, where it was cooler than at the surface, Valeria cracked her knuckles. Captain Asir. Valeria began. After this mission, permission to teach your second son a lesson the hard way. Me too. Elf Fana added. I know he's your son and all, but his attitude is borderline arrogance. And I hate that about you humans. She glanced at the others, which were in fact humans. No offense, none taken, Elf me. Captain Fana waved her right hand dismissively. Asir just laughed lightly. I would say no, but I'll give Solid one more chance to pull his act together. Asir replied. Should he not work together as a team during this mission? Then you can, Mom. Solid groaned loudly. The others just laughed. The two squads walked for a good while before eventually reaching what appeared to be the temple. They quickly took notice of people bustling about. There are people here, Freed questioned. Magic Knights. Welcome. The two Magic Knight squads noticed a group of seabed temple citizens approach them. We've never had any visitors before. It's a nice change. Say, do you know where the temple is? Captain Fana asked. We're on a mission. Magic Knight business and all. Oh. An older man spoke as he pointed in the direction of the temple. Just follow the path and you'll reach it. Not like we could miss it or anything. Solid grumbled. Thank you. Asir nodded as she took the lead for the two squads which followed behind her. After a good 25-ish minutes of walking, the two squads reached the base of the seabed temple. Amazing. Elf Fana breathed, impressed by the structure of the temple. Let's just get in and get out. Solid snapped. You can go sightseeing here another time. As much as I hate to agree with him, but your second son is right, Valeria told Asir. Asir glanced at Valeria and nodded. Yes, of course. Asir replied. The two squads walked inside the temple, only to be surprisingly welcomed by four people. Three of them were male, the other female. The first was an old, wrinkled man with long, thin eyebrows and a mustache that extended outwards. He has a long beard that extends below his waist and extremely long hair that for some reason is able to levitate. He wears a large coat with a large collar and a black trim. Under the coat, he wears a light-colored shirt and pants and a dark-colored belt. The second male was a young man with dark hair. As a priest, he wears a swordfish mask and a light-colored hooded robe. The third male was an older man with short black hair, except for a long ponytail in the back and 3 strands that hang in the front. He has a goatee and 2 bunches of hair on each side of his mouth. He also has thick eyebrows that fringe on the edges. As a priest, He wears a hammerhead shark mask and a white hooded robe, and the fourth was a female who was a slender girl with red eyes. Her dark red hair is gathered into a long ponytail and decorated with seashells. She wears a gold chain necklace with a whale pendant. She wears a white sleeveless dress made of scales and a red belt. Her grimoire bag hangs off the left side of her belt. She also wears a pair of sandals with 2 red straps like her belt. As a priestess, she wears a dolphin mask, a pair of large pink pants, a white shirt, and a wide gold belt. Over all this, she wears a white hooded robe that is clasped at her throat by a seabed temple pin. The edges of the robe are red, while the sleeves have sections of pink scales. Welcome, the old man greeted. Aesir gave a bow to the 4, confusing the Amber Phoenix squad members, minus Valeria. It is a pleasure to see you again, Gifso, Gio, Kiato, Kahono. Aesir greeted with a smile on her face. Her smile soon vanished. However, as much as I'd love to play catch-up, we magic knights have a job to do here. So that's why you bowed to them, Captain Aesir? Captain Fana asked. Captain Aesir glanced at the younger captain and nodded. That's right, Aesir confirmed. These longtime friends of mine, specifically Gifso and Gio. Kiato and Kahono are Gio's children. Gifso took notice of the Amber Phoenix squad members and instantly got excited. Despite him being an old man, he still held a high amount of energy, especially considering what he had in mind for the 2 Magic Knight squads. The young man named Kiato and the girl named Kahono both chuckled at their grandfather's antics. Oh, I see you brought friends this time around, dear Aesir. The elderly man named Gifso grinned, excitement plastered on his face. Wonderful. The Amber Phoenix squad members, including Captain Fana and Vice Captain Mars, sweat dropped while Aesir chuckled. I never would have guessed an elderly man to be so. Alice began. Chipper, Mariella finished for her. Yeah, me neither. Valeria, on the other hand, just felt her lips form into a light smile. This reminds me of Princess Lilopika, Valeria thought, reminiscing on the memories while listening to Gifso and Aesir. Eventually, the 2 reached an agreement. All right, just one game, Gifso. Aesir agreed as the 2 finished talking. Afterwards, can you please give us the magic stone that's here? It's better we have it than our enemies. Game? Captain Fana repeated, hearing the last bit of what Aesir and Gifso said. That's right, Kahono replied, grinning. To put it simply, you must defeat all the Seabed Temple mages to win. Oh, that's it? Fanzel questioned. It doesn't sound that bad. He grinned. Still, it'll be fun. Sign me up. Hey, wait a minute. How come we're closed off in here? Captain Fana asked as she, Mars, Aesir, and Gifso sat inside a secluded area that allowed them to watch the fights taking place. It's to make this a fair game, Gifso explained. I am aware that Magic Knight captains are really strong. From what Aesir has told me, depending on their strength, they are a one-man, or in your 2E's case, one-woman army. It makes sense to me, Mars remarked, turning to Fana. Plus, we have 2 magic attributes and a lot of mana because of it. Captain Fana nodded. That's true. Captain Fana agreed, her worriedness slowly fading. Besides, complaining about not being able to take part shows that I don't have much faith in my own squad. She clenched her right hand into a fist for a brief moment before unclenching. My squad may have been newly formed, but a lot of people joined it. I at first feared we wouldn't get anyone at all. Her lips formed a small smile, turning to face Mars. But it was thanks to Wizard King Julius that my squad was able to get members. She wrapped her right arm around Mars. But I have to thank you too, Mars. Me? Mars repeated. What did I do? Besides coming up with the squad name? Captain Fana laughed. You just being with me has helped me in more ways than one. Mars felt his cheeks turn pink. Unfortunately for them, both Gifso and Aesir were laughing quietly to themselves as they watched the battles. Oh, I have plans to make fun of those 2 later, Aesir whispered to Gifso, grinning like a master planner. Gifso just laughed. That's so like you, Aesir. Gifso whispered back in agreement. He then turned his attention back to the screen S in front of the 4 and gasped as a temple mage fell in defeat to Freed. What? Oh, come on. Captain Fana and Mars turned back to face the screens, and Captain Fana smiled. Even though Freed is at a disadvantage here due to this place filled with water magic mana, that ultimately doesn't matter, Captain Fana noted. It's because of how her great aunt trained her that matters. That's right. Aesir agreed with her fellow captain. She then turned back to Gifso. I probably should have mentioned this to you when we met outside, but there is a terrorist organization hunting down the magic stones. Because of that, They'll come here to obtain the magic stone that is within the seabed temple. Gifso glanced at Aesir, then back at the screens. One of the screens showed Asta dueling Kyoto, while another showed Noelle dueling Kahono. I'll take that into account. Gifso spoke up. Sadly, we cannot leave this area until the game is over. Right, Captain Fana muttered. You're not half bad. Kyoto grinned as he evaded Asta's anti-magic attacks with the Demon Dweller sword. Thanks. Asta grinned as he too evaded an attack from Kyoto. You're not half bad either. He leapt at Kyoto and their blades clashed. But sadly, I have to defeat you to help my squad complete this mission. Even though you're not a noble or royal, you hold the arrogance of one. Valeria remarked as she walked away from the new-bound temple mage via her earth-binding magic. Prison grip. Those are the type of mages I put in their place. Damn it. The temple mage groaned out as Valeria left him behind. Once she was out of range, the temple mage, Valeria defeated, face planted into the ground. Looks like you're the last one that doesn't have an opponent. Solid grinned as he faced off against Gio. However, Solid was also joined by Anabi Sinho, much to his own irritation. Though I do not need help. Keep your ego down, Silva boy, Anabi remarked coolly. Valeria already wants to knock it down a peg or two. Try not to make it worse for you. Humph. Solid grunted. Fine, since our squads have teamed up, I'll let someone like you aid me. But just this once. Ready whenever you two are. Gio grinned. Before the two could battle it out, the rock wall in front of them shattered to reveal 11 mages. 6 of them wore the Eye of the Midnight Sun outfit, while the other 5 mages wore Spade Kingdom military outfits. But unlike the other 10 mages with him, this man had long blonde hair, purple eyes, and a very muscular body, along with a red mark going across the bridge of his nose. He turned his attention to the other 10 mages with him. Yes, Lord Veto. The 10 mages remarked before splitting up. After the 10 mages left, Veto immediately turned his attention to the 3 mages in front of him. A temple mage, a filthy royal, and a mouse. Veto mocked Gio, Solid, and Anabi respectively. You 3 will be the first to taste despair. Chi. Solid grunted before he grinned. We'll see about that overgrown piece of filth. Veto just chuckled at Solid's poor attempt at insulting him. No, that's you. Veto retorted, unfazed by Solid's lame insult. He then curved his lips into a dark smile. Regardless, you shall taste despair. He then charged at Solid. His arms and legs became imbued with a dark red aura. Beast magic. Cheetah charge. Followed up with beast magic. Leopard kick. He kicked Anabi's barrier formed by his barrier magic around him, Gio, and Solid. Solid and Gio skeked. Then Solid launched 2 water magic spells at Veto. Water creation magic, slashing sea serpent, as well as holy water bullet. Solid declared. A giant water hammer appeared in Gio's right hand as he charged at Veto. Water creation magic, sea god's hammer. Gio declared. Veto took the 3 spells head on. Thus they created an explosion. The 3 mages watched intently as the smoke began to clear. However, once it did, Veto was unscathed, surprising the 3 mages as well as Gifso, Captain Fana, and Vice Captain Mars. Aesir just frowned deeply. Impossible. Solid gasped out of shock. Those were 3 powerful spells consecutively. It's all thanks to my rhinoceros armor spell that your puny spells failed to hit me. Veto mocked. He turned his attention to Gio first. Still though, your spell wasn't bad. However, he punches Solid and Gio in the face, followed up with a kick to Anabi's stomach. The 3 staggered backwards so much that crashed into the rock wall. While Gio slumped to the ground, Solid and Anabi face planted the ground. Veto looked at the 3 for another moment or two before laughing. You 3 weren't even worth my time. Now fall into despair. Suddenly, several icy spears flew towards his way. He evaded them with ease, despite how fast they were moving. Damn it, I missed. Mariella grunted as she, Fanzel, and Dominant strutted into the area where Veto was. Excellent. More people have come, so can drown them in despair. Veto sneered. I was worried that this would be easy for us to obtain the magic stone here. Glad it won't be. You think it will be that easy? Mariella retorted, unimpressed. She then glanced at Fanzel and Dominant. Master, Dominant, let's do this. Right. Fanzel grinned as a sword made of wind formed and appeared in his right hand. Its appearance is similar to the Demon Slayer sword. Wind creation magic. Slicing wind emperor. Ice magic. Icicle spears. Mariella spoke as several ice spears appeared around her. Vortex creation magic. cleaving sickle wind, dominant declared as a large crescent-shaped wind blade appeared. Thus she grabbed it with her right hand. Veto's lips just formed a dark smile. So I got some fighters, hum. Good. I don't want to get bored too quickly. Veto grinned. It was a good idea to tell our squad members to stop their fights against the temple mages. Shouldn't I have the Midnight Sun member like Patry show up here? Before coming here, Captain Fana told Captain Assier. Though to be fair, it was your idea, Captain Assier. I knew one of those Third Eye members or Patry would show up here. Captain Assier replied, before frowning. Still, we cannot leave until the game is won. Gifso nodded grimly, now regretting making that stupid rule. Because the situation right before their eyes is making him reconsider making that rule. He'll remove said rule once Veto and his ally mages have been defeated by the Silver Eagles and Amber Phoenix squad members. Captain Fana covered her mouth while Mars grunted. What? Captain Fana gasped, removing her right hand from her mouth, while Mars skecked in frustration. Our other squad members better head to the center of the area they're fighting in, Captain Assier remarked. Shortly after, she turned her attention to Gifso. Gifso, please give me the microphone. I'm going to talk to them. Gifso was about to do just that, but Mars spoke up. No need, Assier. Mars told her as he pointed at the other screens, showing some of their other squad members fighting the allies that came with Veto. They're already on it. Valeria continued to stride in the direction of Dark Mana. However, a black hooded figure leapt out from seemingly nowhere, riding what appeared to be a snowboard made of ice, which dissipated after the figure landed on the ground. My. To think a spirit guardian from the Heart Kingdom would be in a pathetic magic knight squad that calls themselves the Amber Phoenix. The figure spoke coldly, removing the hood to reveal it to be a woman. A young woman with a medium-length bob hairstyle with red-purple colored eyes. She also has long eyelashes and a relatively short pair of eyebrows. She wears a long purple dress with detached sleeves. When using some of a devil's power, a pair of small bat-like wings and small horns sprout from the top of her head and from her back. The woman's dark smile didn't fade from her mouth. I am Tiffany, one of Lady Ava Zogratis' dark disciples. I am able to use up to 50% devil power. Ava Zogratis. Valeria gnashed her teeth, remembering that name. Tiffany's malicious grin widened as hers and Valeria's grimoires floated up and in front of them, respectively. And the Amber Phoenix squad is not pathetic. Haha. Only fools that have no hope left in their lives join a mismatched squad of nobodies like that. Tiffany mocked. It's filled with people from 3 different kingdoms, Clover, Diamond, and Heart. Mostly from Diamond. But still, my point about it still stands. Valeria clenched her hands into fists and her mana began to form an aura around her. Despite her anger beginning to slowly show, she kept her cool. You may be right, Valeria remarked. However, it's called the Amber Phoenix for a reason. It's to give those that want a way to start their life over a chance. She closed her left eye and unclenched her hands. I too thought that a second chance was impossible. She then opened her left eye. But it was thanks to Julius, after I resigned from being a Heart Kingdom spirit guardian, that he told me about Fana and Mars, and they went through their own hardships, yet were allowed to make the Amber Phoenix squad in the Clover Kingdom. I was happy, not just for them, but for the fact that everyone inside the squad has experienced hardship at some point in their life, whether it is feeling like a complete failure, or have done a lot of bad things in the past. Within the space Assier, Captain Fana, Mars, and Gifso were at. Captain Fana felt herself tearing up at Valeria's little speech. Valeria, Captain Fana whispered, feeling tears trickle down her cheeks at the heartwarming little speech from Valeria. Tiffany, who had listened to the whole spiel from Valeria, just laughed darkly. Then I guess I'll freeze you solid. Tiffany sneered. Perhaps I'll even ship your frozen corpse back to the Heart Kingdom. She licked her lips sadistically. I wonder how Princess Lalapica will react to seeing one of her, now former, spirit guardians dead and encased in ice. She chuckled darkly, then added on, I bet it will break Princess Lalapica's heart. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Valeria, despite feeling the icy cold pressure of Tiffany's mana, kept her expression calm and collected. Then I guess I'll have to teach you a lesson about what happens to those that mess with a spirit guardian. Valeria shot back, both women now in a battle-ready stance. So, you two are my opponents. A hooded figure that appeared in front of Noelle and Kahono spoke. Hood up. Noelle and Kahono stopped fighting and turned their attention to the newcomer. Both girls frowned. And who the hell are you? Noelle demanded. The hooded figure laughed before replying to Noelle's question. I'm glad you asked, Royal. The figure removed their hood to reveal a tall, bulky man with short brown hair and a long fringe covering his eyes. He wears a black attire with white crosses patterns in his chest, belt and hat. When using some of a devil's power, a pair of small horns sprout from the top of his head and small, bat-like wings from his back. The name is Arbus, and I'm a dark disciple of Ava's Ogratus that can use up to 50% of the devil's power. Noelle gasped, while Kahono stared at him in slight confusion. Ava's Ogratus. Noelle breathed. I've heard that name before. Her pink eyes widened in realization. Mother told me about her. I personally don't care if your mother did so or not, Arbus replied coldly. Both of you will drown by my water magic, and it will be glorious to watch you hopelessly try to escape its wrath. Noelle skeked as well as Kahono's grimoire floated up to be in front of them. Noelle, Kahono spoke to her opponent. Let's call it a truce for now and take this guy down. I'm certain that Grandpa will give us another chance to spar each other once this is all over. What do you say? Noelle turned to Kahono and nodded. Yeah, Noelle replied. Then the two girls returned their attention back to Arbus. We'll see about that, both Noelle and Kahono declared, preparing their magics to fight against the dark disciple of Ava's Ogratus, Arbus. Arbus's spade grimoire followed suit and floated up to be in front of him. I got paired up with some strange ones. Oh well. What can you do? A hooded figure, clearly female, spoke towards Asta and Kyoto as she appeared in front of the two boys. The two boys stopped fighting and turned to face the hooded figure. And who are you? Asta demanded. If you're here to harm the Seabed Temple and its people, I won't stand for it. Kyoto added. We'll take you down right here and now, Asta added. The hooded figure just laughed as they removed their hood to reveal a slim, attractive, tall woman with 3 beauty marks below her right eye. She wears a purple strapless dress with an open jacket of the Spade Kingdom military uniform. When using some of a devil's power, a pair of small horns sprout from the top of her head and small, bat-like wings from her back. My, such energetic boys you are. The woman purred sadistically. The name's Ashley, and I'm a dark disciple of Ava's Ogratus that can use up to 50% of the devil's power. Ava's Ogratus. Asta murmured in surprise. I have heard that name before. He snapped his fingers in realization. Oh, that's right. Captain Asir mentioned her name to me at least once. He turned his attention to Kyoto. Kyoto, let's stop sparring each other for now and take this woman down. If she is with that hairy, muscular guy, then they're bad news. Yeah. Kyoto agreed as his and Asta's grimoires floated up to be in front of their respective owners. Ashley's spade grimoire did the same. So many enemies appeared at once. Fried muttered to herself as she walked throughout the caves. I hope the others are doing all right. Worry about yourself, girly. Fried looked and backflipped out of the way of a slash attack coming her way. She looked up to see a fairly large and tall man with a bald head, towering over normal-sized people and wields a shepherd's staff. He wears a tight-fitting shepherd's clothes. When using some of a devil's power, a pair of small horns sprout from the top of his head, and small bat-like wings form his back. A dark smile crept upon his face as he approached Fried, who began to tread carefully. Tiffany mocked. It's filled with people from 3 different kingdoms, Clover, Diamond, and Heart. Mostly from Diamond. But still, my point about it still stands. Valeria clenched her hands into fists and her mana began to form an aura around her. Despite her anger beginning to slowly show, she kept her cool. Who are? Fried began to ask, but stopped upon feeling her grimoire vibrate violently in her satchel. In her head, she can hear an angry voice. Kill the devils. I'll kill them all. The voice roared angrily in her head. Devils. Fried breathed, then returned her attention to the man in front of him. Oh, I am Ruin, a dark disciple of Ava's Ogratus that can use up to 50% of the devil's power, Ruin explained. And you, girly, shall be cut into a dozen pieces by my slash magic. Fried clenched her scythe with her hands before twirling it above her head, before eventually stopping, and going into a battle stance. Then I'll have to fight back and make sure I'm not slashed in two, Fried retorted, while Ruin just smiled darkly. Then let's fight, girly. Ruin grinned darkly. To think the Eye of the Midnight Sun would attack now of all times. Noelle muttered angrily to himself as he and Nibra took down 2 of the Eye of the Midnight Sun mages that came their way with ease. I know Noelle, Nibra replied, but it's not. She stopped, feeling a dark aura as someone approached them. Oi, so I come across 2 arrogant royals. Sheesh. A fairly built, strong man despite his old age, standing atop of a rock, which he leapt down from. He has an eye patch that covers his left eye and a scruffy face with a beard. He wears a Spade Kingdom military uniform. When using some of a devil's power, a pair of small horns sprout from the top of his head and small, bat-like wings from his back. A dark disciple. Noelle grunted. That's right. I am Aldrich. Aldrich grinned. I am a dark disciple of Ava Zogratis and can use up to 50% of the devil's power. Noelle and Nebra both skecked. 50%, huh? Noelle mused. So that means you're not some weak dark disciple with 10% devil power. Nebra scoffed before grinning. In that case, the stronger the opponent, the more fun the fight is. She turned to face her older brother. Right, Noelle? Noelle glanced at Nebra, but said nothing. At Nebra's words, Aldrich's lips curved up into a dark smile. I couldn't agree more, Royal, Aldrich remarked, his lightning magic's mana swirling around him like an electro ball. Let's fight. Let's end this as quickly as Noelle spoke, but was interrupted as several paper blades flew towards Aldrich, who got cut by a few of them. Ho, Aldrich wondered aloud. The two elder Silva siblings turned to see Siona Caverly standing not too far from them. Paper magic, raining paper blade shower. Siona declared as she walked towards the two elder Silva siblings. I will aid you too, if that's okay. Noelle and Nebra looked at each other, then at Siona, then at Aldrich. Sure, why not? Noelle finally spoke. Though I don't believe we need it, it's better to accept your help than decline it. Nebra nodded in agreement at her older brother's words. Shona's lips formed a light yet shaky smile. All right, Siona replied, albeit stuttering a bit. Let's do this. Yes, more entertainment. Aldrich grinned. Try not to be fried too quickly. End of chapter 21. Link down to the comments if you want to read the rest of the story. I hope you all enjoy. Goodbye.